you don't have to have all the answers, but it would still shock you the number of people that are out there commenting, out there posting, out there consuming information, all of which is good, that still haven't done 3 to 5, robust custom GPTs for their job or their role, that still haven't figured out, okay, here's a few other tools like deep research or Notebook LM that can dramatically save me time. There's all this low-hanging fruit that businesses and individuals still have not grasped.
Welcome to What Gets Measured, a Ninja Cat podcast about marketing, performance management, metrics, and effectiveness. Because what gets measured gets managed. I'm your host, Jake Sanders. As the Chief Content Officer at Marketing AI Institute, Mike Kaput has been spreading the gospel of AI for over 7 years. His work as an editor, journalist, and PR consultant has given him a unique lens on how AI is reshaping marketing. He's one of the most trusted voices on AI in marketing, co-author of Marketing Artificial Intelligence, and a must-follow voice who consistently breaks down complex AI developments into actionable insights. Today, he's here to help us understand the revolutionary impact of AI and AI agents and what it all means for the future of marketing. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. We were just talking about before the record how Mike is awesome because he's giving you real experiences that he's having. He's voicing concerns, certain things, calling out the cynics, not failing to be skeptical, but he just always has so much good stuff to say. The work that he's doing with Marketing AI Institute is a must follow. Please do this before you hear this conversation. Go right now and follow him. For everybody else, let's just get into it. Man, I mean, you talk to marketers and agencies of all types, all sizes, all focus. What's the biggest misconception you're seeing about AI in marketing right now?
How much time do we have?
Oh, I was like, what? This is a big one. This is a big one.
If I had to narrow it down, honestly, the thing that I keep seeing that frustrates me a little bit but it's understandable, is there's so much noise out there. There's so much hype. It's like drinking from a fire hose to follow this stuff. I know firsthand, nobody, including myself, can follow it 100%. But none of that's an excuse for not having really sat down and figured out how this technology is actually going to impact your job, your business, your agency, what have you, or your role. Now, you don't have to have all the answers, but it would still shock you the number of people that are out there commenting, out there posting, out there consuming information, all of which is good, that still haven't done 3 to 5, robust custom GPTs for their job or their role, that still haven't figured out, okay, here's a few other tools like deep research or Notebook LM that can dramatically save me time. There's all this low-hanging fruit that businesses and individuals still have not grasped, that honestly excites me because there's still so much opportunity, but is also very frustrating. The biggest misconception is that you have somehow missed the boat or cannot get value out of AI because it's too technical, too advanced, or too overwhelming. There's so much you can do right this second.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, and just today we were on LinkedIn talking about this kind of thing. Like, people are still thinking that it's making six-finger Will Smith,
Right.
And it isn't that it does. Like, hallucinations are hard. It's hard to fix. Talk to some of your friends about their hallucinations and see how easy it is to get them to see things straight. But it's failing to be updated. I mean, I talked to an AI readiness person in the last episode, and it was like they think that they need a lot of technical skills to have an opinion on things. But what you really need to know is what could you use it for? And people don't think. They're like, they want it to kind of come at them. And just, I open up the box and it's magic. And you're like, you're in the box. You are the box. So if there's no magic there, you're not helping it be magical. And that's that level of intentional use, knowledgeable, just a working knowledge of how these things work. Great point. That's a huge misconception. But you've written about this in your book, Marketing Artificial Intelligence. You discuss the future of business in that book. I mean, are those things that you said would come true coming true? What do you think is going to be happening in the next 2 to 3 years? I mean, this evergreen advice could be not good in a week or something, is like, talk about the future, but we can put a big flag on it.
For sure. Well, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with how well the book has held up.
Nice.
Obviously, publishing it I think it came out in like June of 2022. We missed a few big things because
Hello.
they hadn't come out yet. So, obviously, no book is going to be able to cover every latest development in AI, but some of the frameworks, some of the trajectories we talked about in there are just as relevant today as they were back then, and some of them even more so. I would
Mm.
say related to what I just said about misconceptions, we still advocate focus on your own use cases for AI that are tangibly right in front of you. That is going to be the easiest way for you to actually grasp how the technology can benefit you. So that's hyper relevant today because, again, people are still not doing it. And there are so many new tools and capabilities coming out that even if you are doing it, you probably can get even more value out of these tools than you could a year or two ago. So that's important. Now, in terms of the future, I think we just have to really, really, really honor how fast AI is developing. People have tried to claim again and again and again that these tools and models are not going to get nearly as smart as we think they are. And so far, the rate of progress has showed no signs of slowing down. If
Mm.
it all stopped tomorrow, there'd still be 5 to 10 years of ripple effect, major disruption with all the technology we already have and how it's going to be further infused into all types of knowledge work. Now, you just have to assume if you're going to do anything resembling planning ahead in your career or your company, you have to assume that today's AI is going to be, we like to say this a lot, the worst AI you will ever
I've
use.
heard it
Again,
often.
and I really do think that's important. That's why I think if you are sitting around saying, well, which tool should I use? How should I approach this? Which should I go test out this model? Sure, experimentation, curiosity are very good, but I'd be more focused on what am I trying to achieve in my business? Because all those use cases that you're testing out today, half of them won't work the way you want them to. Guess what? Tomorrow, they might because there are quickly new capabilities being unlocked every time there's a model update. So having those use cases ready to go and saying, oh, I've been trying to solve for this for a year. A new model came out. Let's try the use case again. People are doing this and seeing incredible results.
Mm. I just wrote a couple things. Giraffes, if they have their head in the sky, they're going to miss the fruit, the low hanging fruit. The truffle pigs are going to win. Um, I'm thinking like it's about foraging. It's not about not knowing, and here's my thought. People in business want sure bets.
Mm.
I don't have time. And a lot of marketers here experiment, A/B test. And everyone's like, yes, let's do that. But they don't ever experiment for real. And I
Mm.
think people who are really curious and experimenting with AI are going to find the good stuff. But they don't have time. Like, what's your thoughts on the fact that people need to be curious now? They have tools that can help them be curious at a faster rate, but marketers are loath to set aside experimentation time, but they all say that they do it. So, can you kind of talk about this is unplanned, but the dichotomy here in between, like, let's get curious and we experiment always with the fact that a lot of people do not experiment. They want a sure bet. They don't want to guess. Now AI's here. Is that messing us up or is it
Yeah.
helping us? Talk to me.
I think it's messing us up in a big way. And
Mm,
I understand why people don't have the time or are struggling.
mm,
I really do sympathize with it, but I just think that the technology is so consequential that there's just no excuse. We have to figure it out because there's no excuse to say, I will go get to this later. It is here now. It is going to be the number one through 20 things that impact your career you have to go find a way to figure it out. And it doesn't have to be drop everything, never get sleep again, run every sophisticated experiment. This is the whole point,
Right.
is you should start with what you know best and what comes naturally to you and figure out how AI works as part of it. You might even want to start outside of marketing. Start in your personal life. Go save a little time running experiments in your own life about how AI can help you with any range of things. It is literally critical to me in my personal life for all sorts of things. Get creative, because you don't have to say, I'm spending 3 hours a day on it. If you can, that would be awesome. Figure out how to integrate it as easily as possible into the stuff you're already doing so you can start getting quick wins. So you can start saving time and then using that time and reinvesting that time into more AI experimentation.
I have a question. Self-reflection. Is that happening a lot in marketing? Are people self-reflecting? Do they actually know what their job consists of? I mean, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, like, just find out what's good for you. And people are like, oh my God, I'm looking at my 70 meetings. I'm looking at all these spreadsheets and stuff. I don't even know where to begin. Like, if you're talking about there are low-hanging fruit baskets for marketers, what you're like, let's get tactical. Like, what's one AI use case that you think most marketing agencies, practitioners are completely overlooking right now?
I'm pretty biased because of how much press this has been getting and how much I've been using it myself, but any of the deep research tools. So Google has a tool called Deep Research that came out a little while ago that goes and creates research briefs for you by researching dozens, if not hundreds, of different sources online
Mm.
and helping you learn topics, answer complex questions. OpenAI just came out with a new feature in ChatGPT, the Pro account at the moment, though I think they'll roll it out to lower tiers. Confusingly, also called Deep Research. I don't know why we're naming these things this way, but
The branding is suffering. I will
it's
say, is
suffering
it
a
the
lot.
03, 04, 01? Oh God, what is it called? Can you just come up with a name?
Exactly. So for our purposes here, I'm calling both of these Deep Research because they are called that.
And they
But
do that.
and they do this. So OpenAI's tool, the same type of way, is a research agent that will go find sources for you, summarize them into literally, I've done briefs today that are 10, 11,000 words, just incredible, rich content and research on different topics. Now, if you are in any kind of marketing or knowledge work and where you are consuming information, learning topics for your business or for clients or for content, and you are not using these tools, like, this is the number one. They drop everything and go figure out how to use them. You don't have an excuse. Like, you don't have to get the ChatGPT Pro license, which is expensive.
Right.
You can get Google Deep Research and get far enough having a Gemini advanced account for $20 a month. Go
Mm.
use that.
Mm.
One of the tools, go use them to dramatically streamline how you do any type of research for any type of campaign or strategy or client meeting or call. That's where I'd start.
Here's a question. If somebody has a little technical wherewithal with AI, they might be concerned that these deep research things are going to fold in things from general search terms. Like one of the GPT problems that I was having was breaking it off and just having it just look at the data that I gave it.
Yeah.
Are these deep research things? They are accessing the internet, but have you seen that there is a bit of, can you set up the guardrails tight on that stuff, or just sort of like, I just want to learn about this thing? That stuff's possible in deep research.
Yeah, it's starting to be possible to be quite specific and say,
Mhm.
look, in your research, I only want you to look at McKinsey reports or peer-reviewed
Oh,
articles. That
right.
may limit the outputs you get,
Right.
but you can start specifying that. It's not perfect like any of these tools. It can hallucinate, it can screw things up, but the
Right.
quality of output so far that we've seen is really, really high and far better than doing this exact same process that you would do on your own anyway.
And imagine how many thousands of dollars you would have to pay, how many, probably like 2 to 3 months to get this from
Mhm.
a research team. I mean, this is a great place to get a starting spot.
Yep.
Here's one of the questions that I wanted to ask about research, qualitative research from your own customers. Um, The fact is that somebody is thinking, well, there's this data over here and there's this data over here, but they're actually the same thing. Is there a way that you could marry the gap for someone who's saying AI is going to synthesize a whole bunch of stuff? I want to hear from the real people how they feel, what they're thinking. AI can help you get to there. Can you kind of like bridge those things in between, like just in case somebody has that barrier in their brain?
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people this is actually a really good way to get started as well with AI, which is you don't need to go run some super quantitative research project. AI now enables us to use language as data. Words are data. We have so many words out there in the form of social media, comments, feedback, reviews. You can literally take those, drop them into any off the shelf large language model, and quickly understand at scale sentiment about what people are talking about, pain points, pros, cons, overall feedback for your products, your services. Go to forums, go to popular viral content that goes viral in your industry, perhaps. Grab, cut and paste all the comments, drop them into an LLM, takes 2 seconds. You can actually learn a lot about what people are talking about, what they feel. Super easy. So language is data, is the way I would think about this if you are a marketer getting started with AI for different research use cases.
So many awesome applications, on the end of understanding that words are data. You don't need a whole bunch of numbers and binary stuff and all that stuff. You don't need a slide ruler. You just need to know where people are talking and try and make sense. So good. Now, here's my question. You got agencies out there, you got marketers out there. They're looking at all the AI tools, the tool sets. They're seeing, oh, well, what's the difference? How do I even start? You've seen the Marketing AI Institute does awesome demos and talks to a bunch of people in this space. You've seen literally hundreds of AI tools and platforms. Could you tell us what your criteria would be to tell agencies if they're evaluating which AI solutions to take on? What's your thought? What's your advice to them?
Yeah, it can be really, really complicated. So I'm sure that I don't have all the wisdom here, but what I'd be looking for, especially as an agency, are kind of two broad criteria to think about. So the first one is what type of AI is it using, right? So there's a lot of third-party tools that are piggybacking off the foundation models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. Nothing wrong with that. You just need to know that in those cases, which are many, they're not inventing their own foundation model or AI. They're using someone else's. That's great. Those are some of the best models out there. I'd be looking as stage one to be making sure I'm getting access to some of the most intelligent models out there, because like GPT 3.5 ain't going to cut it probably for a lot of the stuff you want to be doing now.
Right.
So some tools, unfortunately, are still kind of wrapping over old models, not as many these days, but definitely pay attention to, okay, what artificially intelligent brain is powering this? And then the other piece of this, honestly, it really does matter is like UX, like what is your team able to understand and use? And this is where the value of a lot of these third-party tools also comes in. It's not bad if someone is built on top of a foundation model. We're already seeing people having a really hard time in some cases using ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini and really getting full value out of it. I would go with, to accelerate success, I would be looking at what tools are easiest for your team to hit the ground running with, no matter what they are. If someone says, oh, that's just a wrapper over GPT 4.0, who cares if your team's able to use it better and it's appropriately priced?
Absolutely. I mean, and that might be part of the criteria, is just taking a deep look at your processes and your people and all of the interplay in between them and saying, there are places where we could put some technology in place. And this is not a new conversation. If you've been in marketing for, I don't know, a month, you've probably already had this conversation about changing the MarTech stack and or we get HubSpot, do we get MailChimp, do we get a website? I mean, I'm old enough to remember when you were fighting with people to say you should probably have a website. So it's a tale as old as time, but that's really good to understand the technical. Here's a question. I could just lie to you. I could just lie to you, Mike. It's on our own model. How can you tell?
From there, you have to do a little more digging. And unfortunately, in some cases, it's not always the fault of vendors, but in some cases, the person you want to be talking to is probably not the salesperson. In a lot of cases, unfortunately, sometimes salespeople don't always actually understand the technology themselves. So like a
What?
base level of
Shock and
AI
awe,
literacy.
Mike.
Right.
Shock and awe.
Yeah. It's all the old problems are new again. It's
Right.
really fun.
Yeah.
The
Well,
you do need to understand that you may be talking to someone who is actually less informed than you if you've developed your own AI literacy, and you need to find the right people to be talking to, especially at some of the vendors that have less of an established track record.
Mike just said something 2-3 minutes ago. You said, I might not be the source of wisdom for this, but here's my thoughts. And I thought AI would never say that. And a salesperson might not say that either. I think maybe if you're talking to somebody and they have intellectual humility in this space, that might be the person that you could trust. So yeah, people want surety, but you should probably have just a sense of somebody who's like, I'm not going to promise you everything, because you're going to make this work. And if it doesn't work, then you probably did something that you could have, changed to fix it. But man, let's just talk about it, because now you got the AI stuff. That's wonderful. Talked about vendors, thinking about where the business case is going, how people can make low-hanging fruit salad. Now let's get into the AI agents, because now we're in sort of this application layer. Like, we just came out of this model thing. The models are fighting. It's like the models are fighting. DeepSeek, it's OpenAI. It's who has the compute. Now we're kind of on this agent thing. Everybody's talking about agents. I have seen some really screaming agents, but that's the call for 2025. What is different about agent systems, and how do you see them reshaping like the workflows? Like, it's AI, we had it, but agents are here. What's the difference there?
Yeah, so where we're really getting to, it sounds like, with AI agents, and it's still really early, is this idea of autonomy, right? So when you jump into, let's just use ChatGPT as an example, it can do all these wondrous things for you if you ask it in the right way, if you give it the right data. You say something, it says something back and forth, create great outputs. Awesome. That's all really helpful. However, agents are taking it another step further, where instead of this back and forth necessarily with a human and AI, where you say, hey, actually, here's what I want to do. And it says, okay, I did this. How's that look? Change this, change that. You're not actually achieving a goal. Having AI achieve a goal. You're using a tool to achieve a goal for yourself. Agents are getting into an interesting territory where they can actually take your goal and go figure out how to do it for you. So OpenAI's deep research actually is a good example, very early example of this. You don't tell it how to go about doing research. You tell it, my goal is a research brief on whatever topic. It might ask you some clarifying questions about what sources you want, what topics in that topic you want to cover. And once you set that, it goes off on its own for sometimes seconds, sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, and bring something back to you that it has done on its own. So that simple fact of autonomy is really exciting and is going to change a lot of things, because when you can start having AI do stuff for you, you get into this really interesting territory.
It's super interesting. One of the things is explainability, visibility into that work. Because you said, all right, the AI goes out, grabs a smoke, comes back with your research paper. In DeepSeek, you can see what it's doing, is my understanding. And in OpenAI, you cannot. Like, we'll just tell them that we're thinking ... Should people be concerned that they aren't, you probably wouldn't even know what was happening. If you did get a technical readout of what it was doing, you would be like, okay, that looks super complicated. I guess it works. Is visibility important to you I mean, once we have these things taking autonomous action, they're booking ads, they're adjusting bids, they're writing content. We're going to have to look back and see what type of autonomy was arrived to make the decisions. I mean, what's your thoughts on human supervision, like with AI agents? Is that a part of this thing?
I mean, it's going to be absolutely critical in the short term for sure, but even in the longer term, I feel like that's going to be one of the roles of the future, right? Is people overseeing AI agents, because there's going to be several years here, I would imagine, at the very least, where you're going to need to inspire confidence that a human understands what's happening, what the AI is doing, and can actually ask questions and get explanations and communicate that to other human stakeholders. That's the only way, at least in the short term, these things are going to get used.
That's amazing. Oh my God. If I could stand up and not lose the record, I would. That's so beautiful. So we're talking about specialized AI agents versus generalist agents in marketing specifically. Which approach do you think will prove more valuable?
In terms of, say, like a general marketing agent versus doing specific things?
I'm just wondering, like it's task specific versus general. It
Yeah.
probably would be a hybrid of both of them.
Yeah, I would say I think a hybrid is pretty plausible. I think you're going to, for really more complex stuff, you're probably going to end up with more specialized agents, I would guess, especially as it gets just cheaper and easier to spin these up. It's like, why not, right? Why not
Mm-hmm.
have something that is the world expert at headlines, and you can have 100 other agents or 1,000 others for other stuff. So it may just end up being both. It's really interesting to think about. I think vertical specific is also just going to get interesting. You might have an agent that's really, really good at healthcare marketing specifically versus other types of marketing. Yeah, there's a few ways it could play out.
What's interesting is it just hit me is like, because it's so expensive, or because we were told that it was so expensive, or it really does take a lot of energy to make these things happen. The story's continuing, but the fact is, there is possible workarounds to make it more efficient. Because it was sold as this really expensive, hard to get to. It took millions of dollars to get here, billions. You know, that caused us to look at AI as this general thing that could solve general problems. The whole thing that we are generically, it's just, it seems like it was generalized, it was generic. And now that the price has come down to earth, and now that the sense has come into the agents and the layer of application, we're starting to see, oh, wait, this isn't going to be this one thing. It isn't a one size fits all. It never has been. Nothing could ever be. It's what you make it suitable to your use cases. And it will be hyper specific. And you're saying like there will be someone who just handles headlines, like this is the headline, assistant. And it just has done all the work and it can help you think outside of the box. It's very interesting that it was generic in the beginning, but as it comes down to earth, it's going to become more specialized and we're going to make it more in our process. I guess I'm just thinking out loud. That wasn't a question.
No, I think that you hit on a great point there, though, that relates to what we talked about earlier, which is I think that's what a lot of people miss when they say they don't appreciate how fast things are moving. They look at like a general model and they say, okay, what's the difference between 4.0 and like maybe there's a jump with 0.1 or 0.3. And like those, I would argue, are pretty impressive jumps. So
Sure,
maybe
good
take
for
a
them.
closer look at those. But regardless, they're just looking at the general purpose. They don't realize like it's inning number one. We've now got the general purpose part good enough and cheap enough and fast enough, and we're building on that alone. But then that enables the whole other constellation of things you just described, which is not just going deep on these one big model, but then that diffuses to different verticals, different use cases, open
Small
source,
language.
local models. Yeah.
It's just like it was this thing, and then it was like, how do you think? And I'm verbing a noun, and oh man, I've been in advertising too long. But how do you AI? So This one more question about the AI stuff, talking about orchestration. So now, if it is true that there will be less generalized agents, they will become more specific. You're probably going to be overseeing a lot of key players in an orchestra. Talking about how you can coordinate and get a handle on multiple AI agents. What is this? Is this just a new marketing organization? Is this a mech suit on top of the existing marketing org? Is everything going to be AI managed? So talk to me a little bit about orchestration, manning that stuff, and then kind of what the marketing agency of the future might look like.
I mean, my prediction, which could be very wrong, but I feel pretty good about the overall direction, is this idea. The orchestration is the perfect word for it, which is, I think we're mostly going to become orchestrators, conductors, right? Where agents work for us across 100, 1,000, 10,000, pick your number, different tasks and use cases. And the value of our firms, of our departments, of our teams is going to be in how many good conductors we have and how many people we have that can actually manage these agents to do all sorts of things. Now, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of things that humans are still doing, but there are going to be all these other things where if you're an agency, for instance, I could very well see an agency that it does very, very, very good numbers. That's an agency of one human and 10,000 agents.
Oh my gosh. Who's going to talk to HR? How does this person treat their employees? Amazing. Loving the idea. Talking about orchestration, stewardship. Like, these are some cool words that you're not going to get in another AI podcast. So that's awesome. I love envisioning it. And it seems like you're bringing your heart and your brain with you as we head up into the clouds. But if you could give all of take all of this information and condense it, boil it down, and give us one piece of advice. I know it's hard. It can have bullet points. Just don't delve. So if you had one piece of AI advice for marketers and agencies, and they want to bring it in, what's that one piece of advice that you give them?
All right. That's a big one.
Sorry.
I would say, now, this is the year where I would drop everything that is not essential to free up as much time, resources, and bandwidth to finally get your house in order when it comes to AI. And it starts with, like I said before, it starts with use cases. I would spend the time to come up with a list, which you can use AI to generate and help you with, of every single possible use case in your job, in your career, in your life, in your firm, that you do every day. It doesn't have to be like, what can AI do? Just get the list, get it on paper, because that is the raw data for your roadmap. That is where it all starts and ends. And there can be bigger strategy, bigger considerations, but get those use cases. If it takes you 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours over the next month or whatever, it's well spent time. Trust me. Get the master document that you can operate off of no matter what's coming down the line next in terms of models or what road you're going down with tools and adoption and hiring.
Yeah, it's great advice, even if you weren't even thinking about getting AI together. Honestly, look at what you're doing. Is it busy work or is it leading to business results? And be straight with yourself. I mean, I've been doing this too with some of the dashboards, that I'm handing off, and I'm like, what does that say? And you're like, it looks good. And you're like, yeah, but what does it say? And you're like, no one likes to feel this, but do it now. Be straight with yourself, figure out those processes, and then get ahead of this and make sense of this for yourself. I love that we came up to AI and was like, teach us, tell us everything. And they're like, well, actually, you're going to have to talk to me and tell me what you want. And you're like, oh, so you're going to be made in our own image. And they're like, that's sort of the picture. And you're like, this sounds like a really familiar story. Anyway, Mike is dropping sense. Again, he has balanced, nuanced takes here, gives great advice, actual action steps you can do. Follow him online. If people want to learn more about you and connect, how can they do that, Mike?
Two big ways. Go check out what we're doing at marketingaiinstitute.com. We're very easy to reach through the site, or come connect with me on LinkedIn. Very easy to find. It's Mike Kaput, Kaput on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request. Come follow me. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff out there that we're doing.
Cheese or chocolate?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Cheese or chocolate?
Honestly, I'm going cheese.
Whoa, don't feel bad or make excuses, bro. This is the safe cheese space. Okay, here we go. Hal from Space Odyssey or TARS from Interstellar?
Oh, man, I'm going to have to go with TARS.
It's just the latest model.
And I don't think it tries to kill anyone, but yeah.
It seems super helpful. I like the vibe of that. And talk about that design. That was super surprising. You're like, wait, what? It's like an asterisk that moves. It's a brick. I'm loving it. Okay, here we go. Think outside of the box or build a new box.
I'm going to think outside the box person.
Keep the box. We don't need more boxes.
Yeah, right.
Talk to Pandora, not the streaming service. Anyway, oh man, I can't believe I'm asking this. Pepsi or Coke?
This is hard because I don't really drink either one. I guess Coke?
That's what normal people would choose. Not that I'm... Okay. Fries or tater tots?
Oh, tater tots.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain. Talk to me like that. That was all in.
He doesn't
have Gemini open. He has no LLMs. He's given us the real answer.
Yeah, right. This is the stuff the LLMs will end up learning about me. These tater tots over fries.
He loves
tater I don't know. I just like them.
That's it. Okay. Well, I mean, there's so many fries that are like steak cut, shoestring, curly. Is that what you like? Just stop.
There's just, maybe I don't dislike fries. Maybe there's just fries are always the default. So I'm always excited when there's tater tots as an option.
Man, yeah, they got your number. The targeted tater tot ads are coming, Mike. Yeah, okay, and finally, and this is kind of deep. Fully know the past or fully know the future?
I'm going to go with fully know the past. I just feel like fully knowing the future would probably drive me crazier than fully knowing the past. I could be wrong, though.
What Gets Measured is a Ninja Cat podcast. Please rate and review the show wherever you find your podcasts. Share this episode on social. And visit us on the web at ninjacat.io.